beginning our review video for section 6.5, section 6.5 or chapter 6, section 5. And as always, we start with the learning target. The learning target for today is to identify the line symmetry and rotational symmetry of different graphs. Let's do some definitions here. Line symmetry, figures that match exactly when folded in half have line symmetry. The line of symmetry is a line that divides a figure into two halves that are reflections of each other. Rotational symmetry is a figure has rotational symmetry if it can be turned less than 360 degrees about its center and still look like the original. And the last term for today, the angle of rotation, the angle through which pre-image is rotated to form the new image. Well, let's do one here. Looking at this diagram right here, we're asked to identify if it has a line of symmetry and where it is. Well, as I look at this, I see if I drop a line right down the center, a vertical line right down the center, everything that's on this half has a corresponding match on this side. Everything that's here has a match here. So that becomes my line of symmetry. There is one line, it is vertical. One vertical line of symmetry. Looking at this one, determine if this leaf has a line of symmetry. In other words, where could I fold it and the two halves would fold over and match each other? Well, right down the center, vertical line again, right down the center. And everything matches from left to right. Everything would have a match on the other side. So that has one vertical line of symmetry. One vertical line of symmetry. Well, let's practice with a rotational symmetry. If I look at this diagram and I want to rotate it, in other words, I want to spin it, do I ever get the same drawing back before I go all the way around the circle? And yes, I do. In fact, if I move it that far, 90 degrees, I would get an exact duplicate of the original. And then if I moved it another 90 degrees or 180 degrees total, I would get another rotational symmetry. If I moved it 270, I would get one. So there is some rotational symmetry, and it happens to be at 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and at 270 degrees. Well, let's do a problem where this would be useful. Well, wait, one more. Let's look at this one. Does this drawing have rotational symmetry? Well, if I spin it 90 degrees, imagine in your head taking that and spinning it like a fan blade. If I moved it 90 degrees, does it match? No, because the colors and the patterns would not be in the same position as they are. However, if I did move it 180 degrees, I think we'd be back to our original diagram. So it has, yes, rotational symmetry at 180 degrees. Rotational symmetry at 180 and not at 270. See how this can be put to use? A rosette is a painted or sculpted ornament, usually circular, having designs that radiate symmetrically from the center. Copy and complete the picture of the rosette shown so that the completed figure has rotational symmetry with 90 degrees, 180, and 270. 90, 180, and 270. Well, if I'm going to have symmetry, that means that, this would have to match. I'm going to change the colors of these so that they'll match in color. All right, so that would be red. All right. This would be all matching. I'm only changing the colors because I can't match the color diagrams. The blue would go over 2 and up 1. So the blue would match there, assuming these two colors of blue are the same. This blue would go over 2, 1, 2. This would be my corner. So those would match. For this pink, I'm going to go back to the green. I would need to go over 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This would be my corner. So then these would match. And one last one I'm going to do in black would be from the base here, over 2 and up 1. So those would match. All right, so that would be rotational symmetry at 90 degrees. It would have been spun 90 degrees. I'm going to complete the process or do the same thing again. So that's now the drawing at 180 degrees. I'm sorry, at 270, and then I would need to complete it by completing just the last portion here for the last section. Just to make everything complete here. Drawing got a little sloppy there. And so I think hopefully that's very symmetrical. A few drawing errors there.